Sio uoduhiga nagesa e Junadal Costi e Hia Miss Little Deer. Hello, Grandview School. This is Miss Little Deer, and our story for the week is how the possum got his tail. This is one of my favorite stories from when I was a little kid. Now, on the cover of it, it says the opossum's tail, but the way I heard it was how the possum got his tail. And throughout the story, you're going to hear wolf being called Waya, rabbit is called G-stew, and the word thank you is in there, and that means that you say wado, and co means hello. So when you just hear those words, that's what it means. Waya means wolf, G-stew means rabbit, wado means thank you, hello is co. I got that backwards, didn't I? Alright, this is called How the Possum Got His Tail. The story is by Deborah L. Duvall. The opossum, whose name in Cherokee language is Sequoia, and Sequoia actually means pig. You say possum a different way. Stepped ahead of the line of dancers. They circled around the fire as Sequoia sang loudly and in his best voice. See my tail, see it shine. See his tail, see it shine, repeated the dancers. See the fur, it is fine, Sequoia chanted on. See the fur, it is fine, the dancers sang. Sequoia had waited all evening for his chance to lead the dance. The other animals groaned aloud when they saw Sequoia coming. Oh no, the wolf named Waya complained. Now we have to sing another song about Sequoia's wonderful tail. The song went on for 4 verses before Sequoia took his seat. As near to the fire as he could get, he took a comb from his pack and began to comb out his tail's thick, long fur, and the tail became even shinier, gleaming in the light of the fire. Sequoia did not know that someone watched him from the trees. It was G-stew, the rabbit. G-stew always tried to make sure that he was the most popular dancer. He secretly admired Sequoia's tail, and this made him angry. See, the possum used to have a big furry tail. Wake up, G-stew, while the wolf jumped beside him. What are you dreaming about? Oh, that's Sequoia, G-stew said. Just look at him showing off. Maybe you should give him lessons, G-stew. You are much better at showing off than he is. Just ask anyone. Waya laughed and waved goodbye. Sequoia the opossum talked with the dancers until they all left for their homes. He would sleep all day tomorrow, but tonight he stayed by the fire and practiced for hours, singing a new song about his tail from his hiding place in the trees. G-stew heard the song, and he became even angrier. At last he slipped down the path toward home, grumbling with every step. G-stew awoke early a few days later. As messenger for the forest, he carried all the news from house to house. Today he would announce that an animal council and dance would be held in 4 nights. As he walked down the river path, his thoughts turned to Sequoia the opossum and how he would flaunt his tail at the council dance. He thought so hard he tripped over the feet of the terrapin, Doxy, the famous doctor, who sat dozing beneath a shady oak. Your head is out of step with your feet, G-stew, the big Doxy pretended to look stern. Doxy, how good it is to see you. G-stew jumped to his feet and instantly thought of his excuse. I was walking with my eyes closed to practice for the dance. If I can learn to dance with my eyes closed, I will not have to watch Sequoia carry on about his tail. At that, the great Doxy began to hoot loudly. That is the best story you have come up with yet, G-stew. Do not try to fool me. Instead, take my advice. You need to go and visit Cricket. G-stew told Doxy about the council and dance and promised to stop by Cricket's house that evening. Cricket's neighbors sometimes called him the barber because he knew everything about hairdressing. Maybe he could do something about Sequoia and his tail. G-stew arrived at Cricket's house just as the sun was going down. Hello, G-stew, Cricket chirped. What news do you have for me? You are invited to the animal council and dance in 4 nights, Geestu replied. But I need your help right now, Cricket. Sequoia the possum is making me crazy. He brags endlessly about his tail. How can I stop him? Cricket rolled his eyes. How many times had he heard Geestu brag about himself? But Geestu was right. Sequoia's constant boasting bothered everyone. But what could Cricket do to really teach him a lesson? He settled down to think, and in a few moments he began to smile. Yes, he knew just what to do. Tell Sequoia that I will prepare his tail just before the council dance, he said. Geestu the rabbit felt better knowing that Cricket would soon deal with Sequoia. He skipped lightly along the path to Sequoia's house as the sunlight faded. Sequoia would just now be getting out of bed. When Geestu arrived, he found the possum peering up into a persimmon tree. Good evening, Geestu, Sequoia sighed. How I wish I could get to those. Sequoia pointed to 4 bunches of shiny black grapes hanging from a grapevine that had twined itself around a limb in the persimmon tree. I try so hard to pick them by holding to the limb, but they are just out of my reach. Maybe you could pick them for me. I have no time to work for you, Geestu laughed, but I do have a message for you. There is a council dance in 4 nights, and you are invited. Oh, well no, Geestu. Of course I will come over. Everyone will want to hear my new songs about my tail. Yes, Geestu grinned. In fact, a secret friend of yours is sending the hairdresser Cricket over to comb your tail just before the dance. Four days later, just before dark, Geestu stopped by to see Cricket to make sure he had not forgotten about Sequoia. Away down the path he could hear Cricket's music. How did he make such a loud chorus with only his wings? As Geestu got closer, he could hear Cricket's voice. I am the song of the evening, he sang. I am the song of the night. Geestu, I am just leaving to visit Sequoia, Cricket called to him. Tonight you will be pleased with my work. Cricket hurried away to find Sequoia already awake and pacing nervously. He had never allowed anyone else to touch his precious tail. Cricket stood behind him and began to brush and comb the hair. Next, he wrapped the tail tightly with a buckskin strip from end to end. He explained that the buckskin would keep the hair in place until the dance began. But with every loop he made, Cricket skillfully cut each hair down to the very root, and Sequoia never knew. You can see it getting skinny as he cuts it off. Sequoia walked slowly down the path to the dance grounds, being careful not to disturb the wrapping around his tail. What had Cricket said? He need only pull the buckskin strip just before stepping into the circle of dancers. Then his tail would look its very best. The dancing had already begun when Sequoia reached the fireside. There to greet him stood Geestu the rabbit and Doxy the terrapin. Do not go in just yet, Sequoia, Geestu said, smiling. We all want to get a good look at your tail. The next dance is for you alone. And Geestu was known as a trickster, so he always liked to play tricks on people. All the dancers backed away from the fire when Geestu announced Sequoia's dance. Sequoia held his head high as he pulled the wrapping loose from his tail, just the way Cricket had told him. Looking straight ahead, he walked proudly toward the fire and began to dance around a circle around it. See, his tail's all wrapped up with the buckskin strip. Oh, see what a beautiful tail is mine, Sequoia sang, and the dancers cheered loudly. How it glistens, how it shines, he continued, and the crowd grew louder still. Sequoia could not believe his good fortune. At last his fellow dancers understood the wonder of his tail. Feast your eyes on every hair, he cried. We want to, but they are not there, yelled Geestu the rabbit, who had picked up Sequoia's buckskin strip and was waving it crazily in the air. Sequoia looked around him. The other dancers were not cheering, they were laughing. With a growing sense of dread, Sequel looked over his shoulder and down at what remained of his magnificent tail. He saw only bare skin. Sequel could think of nothing to do or say, so he simply fell over on his back and lay there motionless with a silly grin on his face. That's why they call it playing possum. Lay there like that with a smile on your face. Sequel lay in that position till every other dancer went home. He could hear their laughter still ringing in his ears. And what of his beautiful tail? The hair that fell off with the wrapping blew away on the breeze. Sequel trudged miserably down the hall to his home. What would become of him now? He could not face his neighbors with such a horrible-looking tail. Outside his house he walked from tree to tree, unable to rest, unable to believe that his tail was lost. "Look at my beautiful tail," Sequel cried out in despair. "It looks just like a snake." "Yes, it is most beautiful," came a voice from above. "It looks just like mine." And that was the snake, Enada. Sequel looked up to see Green Snake peering at him from a tree limb. "Oh, Green Snake, what am I to do? I have lost my wonderful tail." "Lost?" Green Snake replied. "Is that not your tail I see behind you?" "No," Sequel moaned. "My tail was beautiful, and this tail is useless." "Watch this, Sequel." Green Snake lowered her body, coil by coil, her tail wrapped securely around a tree limb. "I can hang by my tail all day if I like, and so can you now that you have a tail like mine." Sequel looked at Green Snake and then back at his own tail. Then he ran to the persimmon tree. Remember, he couldn't reach them earlier. One shiny bunch of wild grapes still hung there waiting for him. "Green Snake," he said, "if I learn to hang by my tail, I can reach those grapes. Will you teach me?" "Yes, Sequel, I would like that. Meet me here tomorrow night and we will begin." The next evening, Sequel jumped eagerly out of his bed. Green Snake met him just outside, just as he promised, and pointed to a narrow limb growing just above the ground. "The first thing you must learn," Green Snake said, "is how to coil your tail. We will start with this little limb." Sequel worked for hours coiling and uncoiling his tail around the limb. He worked until he could control the tail without even thinking. "Now you're ready to hang from a tree, Sequel," Green Snake smiled. "And I know just a tree," Sequel's voice squeaked with happiness. Sequel gathered dry leaves into a pile beneath the persimmon tree in case he should fall. Up the tree he climbed, perching carefully on the limb that held the precious grapes. Then he coiled his tail around the limb and let go. What a wonderful feeling! Sequel hung upside down, swinging in circles and laughing aloud. "Well done. Thank you, Green Snake," Sequel called down from the persimmon tree as he grabbed a bunch of shining grapes. "I will never complain about my tail again." That was How the Possum Got Its Tail. The moral of the story is don't be bragging, because sometimes people will get you back for being bragging so much. So I hope you enjoyed that story. It's the last one for the summer. Well done.